Webinars. This lesson is going to be about stop and pause signs. Objectives. We're going to try and understand when you can stop or pause when reading the Holy Quran, and we'll look at the different stop and pause signs in the Uthmani script. Now, we're not going to have a look at the Majidi script, i.e. the Indo-Pak script, and the reason for that is the stop and pause signs in the Majidi scripts are very, very different from the Uthmani script, and in fact they have a lot more signs than are in the Uthmani script, and this is quite complicated as it is. So we're going to not try and confuse the issue, we're just going to stick to the Uthmani script. Inshallah, at some later point we'll do a version of this lesson for the Majidi script. So a note here, this is actually a very complicated topic in higher levels of Tajweed. We are only covering the bare essentials with general rules. Again, this is a very elementary level. We're just trying to get you to understand the absolute basics so you can be up and reading. So why stop or pause? One of the reasons then for stopping or pausing your recitation may be due to unavoidable circumstances, i.e. you completely run out of breath, or you might be coughing and sneezing. So these are things generally out of your control. That's not really what we're talking about in this lesson. The other reason is due to knowing when and how to pause or stop, which generally falls into two categories. So this is effectively the reason for stopping is based on knowledge, i.e. your knowledge of the rules. Now, when you stop, you could break this down into two major categories. One is due to reaching the end of a verse, because obviously every verse has its end marker on it, so that's a place you could stop anyway. And then there are certain symbols that indicate a stop or pause is allowed or not allowed. So we're going to concentrate on really the second of these two areas. So the rules of stopping are very important, as they are to prevent you distorting the meaning of the verses, and for those like myself who are non-Arab, who don't understand the actual Arabic, the problem we have is we cannot tell whether, if we stop and restart on different words, whether what we're reading makes sense or not. So what the scholars of Tajweed have done is put in these markers to tell us, yes, you can stop here and then you can continue, or no, you must not stop here, because if you stop here you're going to break up the meaning and potentially completely distort the meaning of the verse. So this is a very important topic. So the different symbols then, here's a table of the Uthmani symbols. Now we'll go through these one by one. The first one then is at the end of every verse you'll have two round brackets with a verse number in the middle, and this will depend on the Quran or the website you're looking at. It could be different sort of graphical symbols, but generally you'll have a roundish type circle with a number in it which indicates the verse. And in the Quran you have the verse, i.e. the Arabic, and then the verse number comes after the line. So you'll have a bit of Arabic, and then number one means that the text that just came before number one is actually line number one. You don't get the line number and then the actual text. The second one is this little, what looks like a little meme. Now with this I've written small meme with a short tail, because the meme that they put in is not like the normal meme. So I just read this: small meme with a short tail. You must stop. Otherwise, if you continue, you will distort the meaning of the verse. And this is not to be confused with the little meme that we covered in the rule of QAW. Okay, so that will have a longer tail on it. So you've got to be a little bit careful. Just note the way that meme looks. It's as if the tail's been chopped in half. And this one means you must stop. Very important one. The next one is the lam alif. Now that says must not stop or pause on the word. Okay, so the little meme was you must stop. The lam alif means you must not stop, i.e. you must carry on, you must not stop on that word. Then we have a small jim, which is allowed to stop on the word, or you can continue. no preference is given to stopping or continuing. You could call this a 50-50 rule. Whether you carry on or whether you stop, it's immaterial. And the next one is this sod, lam, and the ya symbol, okay, which is actually, if you look this up, it'll be sila. So you just need to remember we've got the sod, lam, and the ya looking symbol. So it says here, allowed to stop, but it is better to continue. So the preference is you should carry on, but if you stop, it doesn't matter either. Then we have the next one, which is qila, which is qaf, lam, and then the ya symbol. And this one is the opposite, which is better to stop, but you can continue. So you should really stop, but if you carry on, it doesn't matter, it's not wrong. Now the next one we have is this small scene that you will see. And this one is must pause for a second or so without taking a breath. So it's a very small pause and you don't actually take a breath. Now I've got in brackets here, not to be confused with the little scene placed over or under the letter sod, and that would be covered in another lesson, and I'll show you an example of this other scene that we're not talking about. So the scene, this little scene that we're going to be looking at, is an indicator that you must pause for a second without taking a breath. And then we have these sets of dots. So you have these 3 dots, and what you'll find is you'll have these in pairs, and effectively it says may pause at one of the 3 dot symbols but not both, and these do come in pairs. So effectively there'll be sets of words and you can choose to read continuously through them, i.e. not stop on any of the 3 dots, or you can pause on one of the words where these 3 dots are, but you cannot pause on the second set of dots, which will be on another word. So effectively it's forcing you to either read continuously through, or you have the choice to stop on one of the words that has the 3 dots, or you can stop on the other word which has the 3 dots, but you can't stop twice on both the words which have the 3 dots, and we'll see an example of this as well. And the last symbol is this sort of little, I don't know, you could call it a mosque or Qibla type symbol, and this indicates that a prostration must be made, i.e. a sajda. And what that means is when you're reciting, if you see this symbol, you literally have to stop and make a sajda, obviously if you can. And you'll see this in the mosque sometimes when they're reciting, suddenly in the middle of the prayer they'll go into a prostration, and that's because they've read a verse with this sajda sign in it. Okay, so the first one then, end of verse sign. 2 round brackets with a verse number in between indicates the end of a verse. So simple example here. So this is from Surah 101 and it's verse 1 and 2. And all I'm trying to show here is you've got these end of verse markers. So we've got verse number 1 and verse number 2. So again, the Arabic comes first, i.e. the verse itself, then the number of the verse. Now, generally, if you have none of the other stop or pause symbols, then when you come to an end of a line,